And I had to pick DMX up from the airport. I had an old little beat up car at that time. And I was like, oh my God. So I picked him up. He was cool. I was so embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God. But they didn't give me a car, so I had to drive my car. I pick him up. He cool. Man, stop by here. I need some chicken. Okay, cool. So I'm driving him and I'm being very professional. We get back to the facility. And he playing pool. And I'm just cool. I'm in the space. And he come over, he was like, so you ain't asking for no picture? I'm like, no, sir. So you don't want no picture? I'm like, I think you're great, but no. And he was so offended that I did not take a picture with him because he was like, oh, you think you better? I'm like, no, I'm just being professional. We ended up being so cool and it was fun. And I hung out with him for the rest of the night, but he had to break that ice, not me. Hi guys, it's Clorissa Wright-Thomas, founder and CEO at Synergy PR Services. Don't forget to check out my interview on Concrete Reality TV.
Concrete Reality.
Welcome to another episode of Concrete Reality TV, where we strive to know more and do more with what we know. If you would like to know more and do more with what we know, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. I am Ephraim Acapella.
I am your boy Cool Cutter.
And today's special guest on Concrete Reality TV is Clorissa Wright-Thomas, owner and founder of the Atlanta, Georgia-based public relations company, Synergy Public Relations Services. Let's give her a hand.
Hi, hello.
Welcome, Clorissa. Welcome to the show.
To Concrete Reality TV.
Hello.
We appreciate you giving us a little time. I know you're a busy person, being the CEO of a public relations company and all.
Well, yeah, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Let's get right into it. Most of us don't know what a public relations company is, nor what a publicist does. So I guess we can start with that. What in the world is public relations? What do you do?
That is a great question. And I get that often just because so many people confuse our industry with sister industries like marketing, advertising, even management for some reason. So public relations is the practice of managing brands and individuals' forward-facing communications, appearance, anything that has to do with what faces your consumers. That's what we handle. So your look, the way your logo presents, how you present yourself when you're in interview opportunities, magazine covers. We're responsible for booking and securing media for our clients. So anytime you see somebody on the cover of a magazine, their publicist probably set that up with the publication or the editorial staff. Radio interviews, when concerts come to town and you see people on a media circuit, they're going to all these different cities doing all these different radios because a publicist was behind the scenes setting that up. So anything that has to do with pushing awareness for a brand, pushing awareness for a product, increasing visibility, and hopefully making things a household name.
What made you want to get into this line of work?
So I fell into public relations. I had a job as an admissions advisor. So I moved to Atlanta in 2005. And shortly after moving to Atlanta, I took a job as an admissions advisor at a college here. And that was not my industry either. Before I moved to Atlanta, I was living in Omaha, Nebraska, and I was a medical biller and coder. So you couldn't tell me that I would not work in the medical industry when I got here. I went from medical secretary to medical biller and coder, got to Atlanta, applied at 1,000 companies, and literally nobody called me. So by a lot of hard work, putting in hundreds of applications, I ended up at a job fair that turned into, my cousin referred me to a job fair, turned into a job, and I became an admissions advisor. So was working at the school for maybe a year. And an executive at the school was launching his own educational institution. And it was a conflict of interest for him to talk about it and kind of build it on the side. So anything that was forward facing, he asked me, hey, Clorissa, can you help me with the press release? Can you, he gave me a list of people that he wanted to attend the grand opening for his school and asked me to do all this stuff. Can you alert the news? Can you, call the mayor's office and see if they'll send someone out? So I just was doing a friend a favor, took the list of people that he wanted to come, made all these, introductions of the company, helped him write the mission statement and all these things. And at the end of the grand opening, out of all the people he asked to come, I think only 2 didn't show. So he gave me a list of like 18 or 20 people, 16 or 18 of those people showed up. And I was like, oh, that worked. At the end of his event, he said, and I want to thank my publicist, Clorissa. And I was like, oh, I was shy, kind of confused because that wasn't what I was doing. I was just helping a friend. And after that was successful, it felt good to see him cross the finish line. And he kept hiring me to do stuff. He kept saying, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And I'm like, oh, I guess. And then he started referring me to other people. And one day I was like, I should probably charge for this, because I was not charging. I was doing it because I was untrained. I was capable. You know how when you do those aptitude tests in school, they tell you what you're going to be great at? They always told me, you're going to be a great novelist. And I'm like, that is boring. Nobody wants to do that. But my skill for writing and capturing attention with, just with words and delivery has always been a gift. So I was capable of doing what he asked with just my natural skill. So I didn't feel like I was doing anything spectacular. He started asking me to help friends, and I was charging. And then 6 years after doing both, working at my job, because I was a newly divorced mother with a very small child at home, I was terrified to leave my 9 to 5. But I looked up one day and I'm like, the PR firm, this PR hobby is paying me like double and triple what this job is paying. I'm here for 8 to 10 hours and I'm at home doing this stuff till 2 o'clock in the morning, falling asleep at the computer. Why not just do the other thing? So I took a leap of faith after 6 years of doing both and getting burnt out in every possible way. And I just took a leap, and Synergy became the full-time thing. And here we are.
You just fell into this. It wasn't the plan from the start.
Fell backwards into it. So I have a very close friend. It's interesting because he actually just joined Team Synergy as a project manager a couple of weeks ago. And at that job, so the executive asked me to help him do some stuff, but that's one part of how I fell into this industry. The colleague, I was coming from lunch back to work, and I had a salad, and I was like, y'all, this salad was the best salad ever. Oh my God. If you go to this restaurant around the way, and he was like, man, hush, everything's so amazing. You're a professional exaggerator. Oh my God. And he was making fun of me, and I was like, whatever. He said, no, literally every time you do something, it's the best. It's the most amazing. You come here and you illustrate the best, you give these reviews like you're an advertising exec for the company. And I'm like, oh, I'm just saying my experience. So combined with him saying, you should turn that into a job, and the other person hiring me to do the stuff, one day it just dawned on me. I'm like, well, maybe. So yes, I fell backwards into the industry.
So, there's nothing wrong with slipping and falling on a career that's prosperous.
Yes, agreed. So
I'm glad it was lucrative for you.
How did you come up with the name Synergy?
Okay, funny. So when I initially started the business, my last name, so I'm married. We can see that my name is hyphenated here on the screen, but Wright is my birth name. And of course, trying to be a wordsmith, being a play on words, Synergy was originally Right Way, marketing and consulting. Marketing and consulting because I hadn't quite grasped the concept of public relations. When I enrolled in college, it was for business and management. There was no PR degree around at that time. But if you would have asked me, I would have thought I would be a news anchor or a physician. Those were what I originally thought that I would go on as far as career track wise. So it was Right Way at first. I'm like, yeah, this is my name. I'm doing it. And I was I'm very proud of my last name and what my family name represents. However, I learned that when people knew I owned the company, there was a different treatment and a level of seriousness when they heard that I was the founder. So there's a very prominent club here in Atlanta called the Commerce Club, 191 Peachtree. If you live here in Atlanta, you already know. If you don't, look it up. It's a members only, very exclusive, upper echelon business club. And you go there, and at any random time, you could be sitting next to the CEO of Waffle House. And the next day, one of the Kathy children from the Chick-fil-A family would be sitting there, or NBA players, NFL players. It's a club where executives and movers and shakers go. I joined the club, and part of orientation, there's no hierarchy there. If you're a member of the club, you're a member of the club. So my orientation, I was sitting in there with a dean from Georgia State, an owner of a Ferrari dealership, just really prominent people. And we go around the room and we're all talking about, well, Clorissa, what do you do? Oh, I'm a publicist. Okay, cool. So-and-so, I own a Ferrari dealership. We went around the room and everybody was like, oh my God, I could use your help. I could use your help. And I was really excited. First of all, I was the only woman in the room, and I was the only person of color in the room, period. So that was already like an exhilarating experience because I knew I was embarking on something. And at the end, somebody asked for my email address. And I said, cwright@rightway. And he was like, oh, you own the company? And I was like, yeah. He was like, oh, okay. Okay, got it. So there was just kind of like a drop in tone. The excitement was a little different. And I am a very big observer of energy, body language, octaves. And I was like, what was that? Dang, what was the drop? And I'm talking about, we had a plan to meet the next week, sit down for lunch. We're rolling out this new blah, blah, blah. Can you help us do some activations? And then he never called, never responded to any of my emails. And I'm like, dang, I wonder why. And I just, through deductive reasoning, realized that I probably looked more like a small fry with that as a company name. I didn't change the name right away at that point, but it always stayed in the back of my mind. Years later, I had become very disenchanted with my company. Things were very rough. Clients weren't acting right. Money was when you're an entrepreneur and you are not trained in the field, you either ask for help from people who are in the industry, or you just throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. I did not know how to price myself. I didn't know how to do my retainers. And I had a staff and all this and that. And I was making it, but it was becoming very difficult. And then I had clients no-show the New York Times. That puts a black mark on your reputation if you no-show an organization like that. One client no-showed the New York Times twice. Another client missed a photo shoot that I paid out of pocket for. It was like and another client who is a multi-platinum recording artist. She was in a large group. The group disbanded, and we were trying to find opportunities for her as a solo artist. I know this is a long story, y'all, but this is how we get here. Okay.
No, you good.
So the company was thriving because I was getting better clients, but it still just something just wasn't right. No matter how much I'm putting out, I'm putting my own money on the line. The clients are being high maintenance. And I'm like, okay, this young lady turned down a tour. They were going to give her $20,000 a show, which is not a lot if you've been a multi-platinum selling artist, but it's better than you parking your car in the storage thing and hiding the Mercedes from the people. So I brokered this deal with some African investors who were going to fly her around to like 5 cities starting in Japan. And she turned it down because they would not get a second SUV for her luggage. She doesn't like to ride in the same vehicle with her luggage. Turned it down after I did all this stuff. The no-show for New York Times, the no-show for the photo shoot, and that client canceling, I shut the business down. I sat my whole staff down, crying my eyes out. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just done. I'm just very disenchanted. I've helped everybody find another job before I closed the doors, and I just stopped everything. Stopped. And spent several months like in a very upset, rebellious phase. I'm already naturally rebellious, but I'm typically a controlled rebel where I'm like, I'm just not going to follow the system. I'm going to do my own thing. But at that point, I was completely out of control. So I stopped the company and took a job at another company. And I was an editor for a very large corporation that owns 500 magazines 500 radio stations and 50 magazines. And I'm editing and I'm doing stuff that I'm qualified for, but I started to get that itch and I'm like, dang, shut the company down. In addition to firing all my staff, I emailed all of my clients and told them they were all fired too. And I just went into a hole. And a good friend of mine, her husband was like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I'm just pissed. And I wrote a list of words that were inspiring to me and I sent it to him. I'm like, man, I just want to feel like this. And he took the word synergy and created the logo and sent it to me. He was like, stop doing all that. Just get up. And I'm like, I'm sick of it. And I looked at the logo. I'm like, dang, that's hot. Okay. So somebody had to remind me, it's okay to rebrand. It's okay to start anew. It doesn't have to be right way anymore. Start a new company, start new practices, stand up for yourself more. So somebody created a design. They made me an offer I couldn't refuse with a beautiful design off of a word that I had thrown deeply into my mix for trying to come out of the dark space I was in. So it became synergy. And here we are.
Sometimes it's okay to push that Control-Alt-Delete button.
Oh, yeah. Now I'll do it in a minute. I'm going to do it in a minute now. So, yes, it is.
Look, reboot the system, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Facts.
Let's back up.
Okay.
We ain't going to play the Tank and Jay Valentine games about, I ain't saying no names.
Go ahead.
You did say it was a multi-platinum recording artist that, gave you a hard time.
Yes. So due to, and I swear, I told you before, I'm very transparent. I don't have a problem being honest. However, there are confidentiality clauses in my industry. So if a client knows I'll drop dime on somebody, they might not trust me to not drop.
Right. So, hey, look, we are a company that focuses on the truth. So we got to push them buttons.
No, and I welcome it.
They tried to.
You know what I mean? I tried it.
Yeah.
I tried it. You know what I mean?
No.
I ain't trying to get you to say the name. I'm going to play my Shannon Sharp game. I'm not trying to get you to, Cat Williams, nobody. But
yeah, no, it's all good. Like, the thing is, she was part of a female group, all female group. The record label was housed in New York, very prominent label. The founder of that label is under fire really heavily right now. So if you do some research,
hey, look, say no more.
Figure it out.
Say no more. I think we got it.
Okay.
And if not, the artist can, they do their due diligence and pick it up.
Facts.
But that's neither here nor there.
Yes.
No, so that actually was one of my questions, because the whole idea of a publicist, you always hear about them. Somebody does something that's not very smart in the public, and then they always kind of comment, or someone may say, he should have talked, or she should have talked to his or her publicist.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't they talk to their publicist? They wouldn't be in this situation. So how does that play out? Do they actually trust you to that point where they'll check in with you before they make moves in the industry?
Yes, and that comes after years of me learning how to dictate to clients what is acceptable and what is not. So I can't tell anybody what to do, period, but I can tell you what I won't do as far as my business and reputation goes. Crisis management is a very big part of what we do every day. I'm here for it. We deal with crises all the time. That's not a scary thing. If you're a constant crisis client, though, it's like, what, you might not be for us. So yes, I have clients who find themselves in really troubling spaces, and sometimes I can see it coming. And I'm like, hey, you need to reel this back today. And they're like, oh, no, it's not that. Okay, if you don't do it, if this blows up, I'm going to write the statement for you. I'm going to do the stuff, but we done after that, because you are paying your publicist to help you manage and help protect you, but don't create the problem. So yes, most of them listen to us, even when they don't understand it or like it, they will come back and say, oh my God,
save my career.
Yeah. And I have done, being a publicist, you see everybody's dirt. So I have been in some dirty places with my clients, and there's no judgment. In public relations, you cannot have judgment with your clients.
Right.
When you are a publicist, there are therapy components to this work that we do, because people call you when they're at their worst and I don't feel worthy to do that show. I can't believe they paid me $300,000 to do this for 1 hour. I'm scared. So there's a therapeutic part of what we have to do too, to re-encourage people and to remind them who they are. But no, for crisis, they listen most of the time. And when they don't, sometimes you gotta make sure you have to serve a little bit of their own medicine to them so they understand for the next time. I don't leave you after one offense, but if you're the problem, like I had a client who threw a drink in a girl's face at a restaurant, and I'm at the table and I see this and I am livid, and the girl was confused. Everybody at the table was confused. And I was like, I guess I'm gonna keep it PG. I'm gonna keep it G for here. But I cut up. I cut up all the way. And he was so upset. You, my publicist, how you gonna get mad? And I'm like, okay, your publicist doesn't mean your disrespect sweeper under the rugger. That's not what it is. So he got a very strong warning. And I made sure that we did right by the young lady. She was so confused. She brought him a Coke and he asked for a Sprite. He just went off. But he got served. Karma, they say karma comes back around, and maybe a month or so later, he had a tour, and we had embarked on a very large Atlanta native to perform at one of the shows in North Carolina. Yeah, North Carolina. We paid them half of their big old huge chunk of money, and then they get to the city, and my client decides he's not going to pay the other half after the person has performed. And when I tell you, they tore that man's tour bus up. Dang. And they cut up and acted crazy. So part of this is just doing right because it's the right thing to do, and staying out of crisis, especially if it's not something that came to you. Don't start the crisis. But yes, they do trust us if we forecast something to go wrong, and they trust us when they have gotten into trouble and we are trying to figure a way out. So ultimately, yes.
I'm so glad you said that. You kind of answered the next question that I had. being as the climate of social media is so prevalent.
Yes.
That everybody needs attention or feels they need attention.
Yes, they do. Yes.
So they're willing to crash out, so to speak, just for the need to further the bag, if I'm making sense.
Mm-hmm.
Or think that they're furthering the bag because, okay, if I do this, people are going to watch me. Yep. If I do that, people are going to watch me. If I act a fool, people are going to watch me. And they don't realize that you have to fix all these types of problems. Mm-hmm. Especially when law enforcement gets involved, lawsuits gets involved and stuff like that. So I'm glad you answered that question before you even had to ask. So
yeah, and on a different scale, I'm sorry, really quick to add to that, because crisis doesn't always mean law enforcement trouble either. Sometimes you are a brand ambassador, you're a partner to somebody. So you're not just risking your freedom, sometimes you're risking the financial stability of your brand and all the people that help you with your brand. So sometimes people act crazy. There was a young man who pulled out a gun on social media, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, did you forget that that Parent magazine paid you $100,000 to do these fatherhood activations? Did you think about that? Now that's ripped from you. Now your person who sponsors your cars every 3 months is pulling out because they're a family safe organization. You've messed up. So crisis management isn't always you cut up in the club. Sometimes you make a comment and you don't think people heard it and it comes out, or you think you're at a party. Part of crisis management is we teach people how to conduct themselves when they're in public environments where it's not their house. There have been plenty of times where somebody was in the comfort of a friend's home and they thought they could let their hair down and chill. And now it's like, oh, how y'all get that video? We were all friends in here. Where'd that come from? So crisis management is a very large circle, and it comes with a lot of different scenarios.
I'm sure, especially these days.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, with drama selling so much, it seems that everybody wants a piece of it. But then, in the end, is it worth it? I guess that's where you come in.
Yeah, and most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's not. And before I was in this industry, I would always be like, there's no way these people would do this just for a check. Like when you would hear, oh, they're announcing their divorce because it's going to get ratings. And it's like, no, who would do that to their family? Why? But no, it's the truth. Like I would put money on it that nobody would go that far for fame or money. But no, they do.
No. And this is what artists and actors and entertainers think. That, okay, well, I'm gonna just do this. I'm gonna put this out there, even without consulting Clorissa or the firm or anybody. I'm just do this. I'm gonna be impulsive and I'm gonna put this out there. I'm gonna put that out there. Now you got to do damage control. So my question to you: do you get to charge more?
So there are some cases that I absolutely will not entertain. But okay, if you're already a retainer client, no, I don't get to send you an extra bill.
Right, of course not.
Because your retainer in the beginning covers everything. So if we're on a contract for a year and this is the rate you're going to pay, I can't up it because something went left. Right. Because just the same, I won't lower it if we have a bad placement month. Some months with us may be slower than others. You come in and we get 10 placements the first month. You were on 3 radio shows, 3 TV shows, 2 blog placements. Oh, we killing it. 3 months in and we have a crickets month where it's like, okay, well, we're still not going to lower that retainer because we still putting the effort out here. Right. So the retainer is the retainer no matter what happens, given extenuating circumstances. It's the same. Now, if you are a person who's coming to us with a crisis and you're not a client, then yes, there is a taxation on that.
So to the people out there who have, are just learning about what's going on right now, are you currently accepting any new clients? Or are you locked in?
We have been blessed as an agency to not have to work with everybody that wants to work with us. And I don't say that in a cocky way. I say that in the way that in the beginning, I was taking any person who wanted to give me money because I was figuring it out, cutting my teeth in the industry. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll take your, I was just happy to have clients. Over time, when you realize what's for you and what's not, which is why I ended up shutting the business down, I was not doing what felt natural to me. I'm taking clients that I knew were difficult, that I knew had reputations that were weird. And just because I'm a nice person doesn't mean that they will be nice back. For me, I've become very selective. So it is my company. There are 7 people on my team. It's not just about me. I do make the final decisions all the time, but it's no longer about what I want, but there are standards in place. So we're always open to entertaining new talent, but it just depends on the industry. We don't typically, as a protocol for Synergy, we don't have more than 2 of a kind. So if we have 2 actresses on TV, we will probably not add a third. If we have 2 restaurants we're representing, we probably won't take on a third unless it's drastically different. A fusion vegan spot is not threatening our steakhouse client because it's not competing for the same business. So we're always reviewing new talent, but we're not always accepting.
Shout out to Team Synergy real quick.
Definitely.
Yes.
Shout out to your team.
Help keep
because
this.
Everybody know we need a team to maintain and make sure make everything work every day.
That's
you
right.
Got another question?
Yep. With the job of a manager and the job of a publicist, are they similar? Are they totally different?
They're totally different, partly because of the pay structure and partly because of the responsibilities. Managers, those people grind for you and get a cut off of what they kill for you.
20-25% on average.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. A publicist, our retainer is what it is no matter what. So we do not work on a commission-based model. And it's for a manager that's a singular management person, they may have greater flexibility with that because it's them doing the job. Like they're sacrificing their own time, staying up till 2:00 in the morning, reaching out to promoters, calling venues to see if we can come, calling sponsors to see if they want to sponsor the tour bus. But as a publicist, I am casting a net all day, every day. So who's going to pay my staff, for all of this work that's being done if we're on a commission-based model? So no, we're different in that pay structure thing, first of all. Secondly, the duties. The manager, is their job to book. So I love when a person has a full team. If a client comes to us and they have a manager in place already, a social media person, it's a dream to us because we're not bleeding into the other areas that people typically need help with. We do cross over into those areas. So managers, it's their job to book the concert. It's their job to book the studio sessions. It's their job to secure features on their albums. It's their job to work out the deal points with the label. That's that person's job. Mm-hmm. For me, it's my job to take the finished product and run with it after that, or to show your coming of age story while they're also building your brand at the label, if we're talking about a music artist. So we bleed into each other's spaces. If I am your publicist, but the Fox Theater calls and say, hey, is so-and-so available to come perform with Anita Baker? I'm going to say yes. Even though I'm not the manager, I'm bringing this home to the team and say, okay, I'm not the manager. However, Anita Baker and them said they was going to give you $100,000. So then we pass that to the manager. And I typically still would not take a portion of that just because I'm passing it along. I'm not working the contact. I'm just passing it along. Same with the managers to me. If they're on site and Rolling Stone magazine says, hey, can we do an interview with so-and-so? They'll say, hey, yeah, Clorissa, here's the contact. Reach out to them. They want to do it. Right. And they don't tell the talent, I got that Rolling Stone for you. They don't do that. So we give each other, we bat the ball to where it goes. So you will never know that I'm not a manager if you reach out in a managerial way for me. I'm not going to tell you, I'm sorry, they're managers on vacation. You can send that request in a week. No, I'm going to take it. We're going to work it until they get here. And then that's that. So same with marketing, same with booking managers. We run parallel, but we are not the same. We complement each other though.
That explains a lot. That really helps. I have a clearer understanding because I had no idea.
Yeah.
So let's go back a couple of steps. How do you get used to being around celebrities, public figures, these big personalities? How do you deal with not feeling like you are less than?
Okay, that's a great question. So for me, there's no way I'm less than because I'm in the room too. And you're giving me a check. So we have different skills, but there's no less than, because if you have hired me, you have identified a need on your team for my service and my skill. If you have hired me, you've already looked at my track record to see that I'm the one for the job. So no, there's no feeling of inadequacy. I don't care who is in the room at all. So I don't worry about that. And after working with celebrities and high profile people, they're just people. They're literally just people. There's probably 1 or 2 people in the world I would act like a fan over. I'm not, I appreciate people's craft. I respect their art and stuff like that, but my feathers don't get ruffled with whoever comes in the room, and I don't get all hype either. John Lewis, if I would have met Mr. John Lewis when he was alive, that I would have fangirled over him because I'm a history buff and I love people that were for our cause and for people who took them hits to make sure I could be here. So something like that, yes, I would fangirl over that. And the Obamas, I would probably fangirl over them because of what it meant for me coming of age as a business owner in that, my company was very new. And as you rise to power yourself, it feels really good to see people rise to power that look a little bit more like you because you feel like things are changing and the landscape is different than when I started this thing. So, yeah. So handling the space, it handles itself.
That's what's up. Shout out to John Lewis.
Man.
Yeah,
Rest in peace.
great. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I met John Lewis, by the way. We did a couple of jobs for him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And he's such a gracious person. I've been in this space with him so many times. Because he was older and because I saw the people tugging on him every 2 seconds, I did not want to be that one more person that's like, sir. And I regret it so bad. I'm like, I would have risked it for that. But again, my respect was there. People that have made a difference in the world, I am more so fans of that type of stuff where I get all giddy rather than celebrity stuff. So, yeah.
And shout out to the people who are in those positions. When I was an engineer / producer, I worked at a prominent studio in Houston. And one of the rules that the owner told us as soon as I got there, as far as an engineer, was not to be a groupie.
Yeah.
And we learned early. I learned early, hey, look, dude, in these environments, people want to be comfortable.
Yes.
And they don't want you to treat them like who they are.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So to be in the same environment as them, they don't want you to fan out.
Nope.
That's the last thing you could ever do in that environment, especially if they're working. Like, look, we're working. I don't want you to be a fan right now. Later on, we're drinking and we're socializing and just chopping it up. Hey, I didn't want to fan out early, but I really appreciate you. Take pictures or whatever in that environment. But if we're working, we're working. You know what I mean? And that's just what it is.
Yes. And when you don't know those rules, just a housekeeping item. I had an intern, but I fired immediately for that type of behavior. We were doing Tri-Cities High School here in Atlanta is a school for the gifted. A bunch of people, Tiny, Candy from Escape, a ton of people went to that school. We were doing an activation where we were honoring Tiny and a couple of other people, and I had an intern with me. Tip's publicist called and asked me, can he present her with her award? And I'm like, no, because that's going to take away her attention. At that time, she got a respect here in Atlanta. She's from here, but Tip come into space, it changes the dynamic of who we paying attention to. So I said no. And she was like, ma'am. I'm like, can't do it. He called me himself. He said, look, why won't you let me? And I'm like, well, because your wife deserves her shine. And when you come, he said, what if I just stay in the back the whole time? What if he worked me down? And I said, okay. If you come, you can't be in the audience. You can't be on the stage when she comes out. You can surprise her on stage, but you can't be there. So I'm up front with Tiny, getting ready for her stage moment. And I'm going to send the cue to my girl in the back who's waiting for him to get out the car. And two minutes was delayed on the program or something. So I was able to go back there and get him myself, but I had already called her and told her to go get him. And they said, we're delayed. So I went back. She beelined 50 miles an hour running and jumped on him and did the wrap around his shoulders, his neck, and put her legs around his waist.
Dang.
And I was mortified. He did not appreciate it. His bodyguard Snake did not like that either. And I was like, oh my God. And he was like, everybody was looking at me like, who does she belong to? And I'm like, you got to go. She cried. I'm so sorry. Then she told the whole world how terrible I was because I fired her. So it's a turn off to the people. Like, they don't find it complimentary when you interrupt their space. He was there for his wife. You know what I'm saying? And you kind of cheapened the feel of it as he was getting ready to go. And he was upset. And
I'm sure he was.
Yeah. And of course, he laughed it off and kind of dusted himself off. And then he went on stage. Everything was beautiful. His wife was crying. It turned out beautifully. But behind the scenes, boy, I was under fire from the security team who I had assured we would not have any problems. And it's one thing for security. They already are bringing their client somewhere where it's not their space. And then somebody's running at you full speed. What are we thinking? What are we about to do here? So it was a safety issue, and it was a personal invasion of space. So
Right.
now there are some celebrities who do want you to fan out on them, but they will let you know that. So my very first job in the industry period in Nebraska, I was at the only hip hop station in Omaha. I was an intern manager, and this is when 50 Cent first broke. Y'all, and I keep all my lanyards from every event. So 2003 May, 50 Cent was literally coming on the scene. He was opening for DMX, and I had to pick DMX up from the airport in my little, I had an old little beat up car at that time. And I was like, oh my God. So I picked him up. He was cool. I was so embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God. But they didn't give me a car, so I had to drive my car. I pick him up. He cool. Man, stop by here. I need some chicken. Okay, cool. So I'm driving him, and I'm being very professional. We get back to the facility, and he playing pool, and I'm just cool. I'm in the space. And he come over. He was like, what's your name? And I'm like, oh, I'm Clorissa, So you ain't asking for no picture? I'm like, no, sir. So you don't want no picture? I'm like, I think you're great, but no. And he was so offended that I did not take a picture with him because he was like, oh, you think you better? I'm like, no, I'm just being professional. We ended up being so cool, and it was fun. And I hung out with him for the rest of the night, but he had to break that ice, not me. Right. So even though I love and respect what he does, there was no way I was going to be like, nope, I'm going to stay here and be quiet, and you will never know you in the room with me because I'm not looking.
You learned that lesson early.
Yeah.
So you were able to, kind of maintain that mindset going into your own business. So we understand, trust me. Because celebrities, artists, Hollywood stars, one thing that turns them off, especially with the business that you have, is unwanted attention.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So we understand.
How do you get clients? So is this word of mouth? Is it what's understood don't have to be said? Do they just talk about you and then they come find you?
Yes. And this is a point that I'm grappling with now. I have never advertised my company. Never, not one time. It has been a blessing that people have always come to me. And I thought that was a compliment for a very long time. But then I was like, but I'm not working with the White House. Why am I not working with the White House? Why am I not actually the person that Sony calls every time they bring a movie to Atlanta? I realized that there's a blessing to getting referred and to being good, having your name spoken about positively when you're not in the space. But there is some external work that needs to be done by the agency if you want to elevate the type of client. So most of our business, I would say 85% of our business is referral based. And some of it is us putting ourselves, positioning with the people who make the decisions for communications, outsourcing, because part of public relations, we're not always working with like people. Sometimes organizations hire us to do stuff on their behalf. Like one utility company hired us to write the welcome letters for any new customer who signed up for the electricity under that company. Another agency hired us to actually write apology letters to people they were firing. So sometimes a corporate client is a more sure bet because they need the stuff anyway. There's no way they don't need the work, but they are not as exciting and exhilarating as the other stuff on this side. So we do a combination of both, but most of our clients find us through other clients in other projects we've worked on.
You are a publicist. You own a public relations company.
Yes.
Do you yourself need a public relations company?
So we PR the PR in-house at Synergy as well. So that's a great question. There are people on my team that pitch me to outlets for things, and I do the same for my staff. So the good thing about working at an agency is that there's always somebody who can speak on somebody else's behalf. Like if there's an award to be nominated for, like one of our staff members, she's a veteran. And if there is something affiliated with Veterans of America or nominate your favorite veteran, then we're going to put her name in the hat. She doesn't even have to do that. She doesn't even have to ask us to do that. Or with me, they've nominated me for awards and things like that. So PR, people do need PR because, we think that just like a chef, sometimes a chef want to put the stuff down and they just want to eat what somebody else cooked. Yeah. So yes, we do need PR for ourselves as well. Yes.
So being that you are a PR firm and you handle celebrities of different calibers, a lot of celebrities have passed. Mm-hmm. We're dealing with the 2023, 24, 25, and a lot of these artists and a lot of these celebrities have done things in the 90s and the early 2000s that are coming back on them. as a PR firm, how would you handle that?
So typically when we have, a client onboarding process with us is they meet with me first or meet with their management team and we decide if we're a good fit, number one. Number two, they meet the entire team. So you've met me, you like me, we've decided that we probably are going to move forward, but I want my team to have an opportunity to meet you too. Once we get past that step, then you and I sit down and we have the real talk. Real talk where I'm like, look, where the body's buried. You don't have to tell me everything, but if there is something wild, I need to know today because I have been blindsided many times. And I'm more mad at you if you allow me to be blindsided because now my footing is not stable trying to represent you.
Right.
If you know dang well you robbed a bank 3 years ago when times were hard and they got you on camera and you on parole, but you didn't tell me that, and I didn't put you up for the United Way Award for community work and effort, and then now they come down with the mugshot. It's like, okay, so people's past do come back to haunt them frequently. Sometimes if we know about it, I do have contingencies in place. We do the what if list. Okay, what if they see this? What if they say that? If I know about it in advance, I can do my best to navigate around it, but we will also change the course of how we present you to the media.
Right.
If I know that you are recovering from something very negative in your past, or you have something that happened very terribly that you want to, disassociate from, I know how to move you in the very beginning. There's no way I'm going to put you on TV when I know you just robbed a bank or you just got out of prison. You are worthy of being seen and heard, but I got to do it different. I have to start you on a podcast where I'm close with the people behind the podcast. That way I can help control the narrative. One of my very good friends, she's a host with iHeartRadio. If I have a client that got a little something that we're going to need to overcome, my first interview is always with her. Why? Because I can literally say, sis, these are the questions I need you to ask, period. I need to start getting ahead. My mom has a saying, get to the threat before the threat gets to you. If I know in advance, I can start to lay that plan out. If I know, then we got a plan. So you've already done one interview where you talk about the power of redemption and you talk about how you learn from your silly mistakes in the past. We've already started putting it on the record. So you can't even try to come at us with it's like, oh yeah, we've already been discussing that. We're done. Now, if they come with something I didn't know, I can usually feel that coming too, because the interviewer will come up with a gotcha question, but I can feel them ramping up to it. They'll be like, oh, okay, so Christopher, all right. So you say you're from Houston? Yeah. I'm born and raised, Okay, all right, cool. You got a brother named Ephraim?
Setup.
I do. And I can feel it. Like you just said, it's a setup because they start doing stuff different than the talking points we send over. They start doing stuff different than what they told me they were going to talk about.
Right.
You've already told me, me and my brother beat up somebody in 8th grade and boy, he ended up in a wheelchair. Now I know that's where they're about to try to go. So it's better when you tell your publicist the truth. So at the end of the day, your past is your past. I'm a very big fan of confronting it head on. We do not hide and duck down when people are asking questions. We just face it. We just say what it is. That was me then. That was me. I'm not proud of it. I have overcome so many things. I'm very grateful for where I am now. I'm glad you asked that question. Hopefully I can be a testimony to somebody else who was where I was and they can see that it's possible to overcome it. So we face it. We don't hide and cry.
Diddy, get in touch with Synergy, please.
That's what I said.
Get in touch with Synergy.
No,
you need them.
So, okay, here's the thing.
Well, it might be too late.
There are some cases that I will not touch. In Atlanta, there's a very prominent singer who is currently incarcerated. I'm not going to throw his name out there. He's currently incarcerated for multiple offenses against women and some of those women underage. I got a call to work that damage control case.
Chaos.
I said, nope. They had a friend, because I was born in Chicago. He's from Chicago. They had somebody from Chicago, that's my friend, call me and say, Chloe, come on, please. And I'm like, well, who is it? He told me, I'm like, nope, can't do it. He was like, it's $25,000, man, for just 4 weeks. I'm like, $50,000 for a 4-week damage control campaign. I was like, carry the one.
Do the math.
I can't do it because my integrity, there was a lot of people I wouldn't be able to face after that.
Right.
And there was no way I could do it. So I learned my integrity will always be at the forefront. If I don't feel I gotta face people. I have children. I have family members who've experienced things that are similar to what the allegations are. There's no way I could stand up and be trying to defend what looks really damning if I have people that have been hurt by that same type of thing. So if somebody I love and know has been deeply hurt by something similar, I stay away from it.
Understandable.
Yeah.
So that goes into our conclusion, where I wanted to go into a little bit of what do you do to wind down? You know, you talked about family. What's going on the family end?
So, that's a really great question too. As an entrepreneur, and y'all know, anytime you do anything that is a passion that you love doing, you still do it when you're tired. You still do it even when you're supposed to be off.
It requires a lot of time.
It does. So for me, I have not mastered the art of winding down. I honestly haven't. And I'm 44, and now I'm fighting to really force myself to find balance, because I know the power of when I stay up all night. I can find $50,000 if I stay up all night. I'm like, I need $50,000 in 3 weeks. What am I going to do? I can figure it out every time, every single time.
Your mind is constantly.
My mind is constantly going. So I know the power of that. But I also, as we get older, and not old in age, but, things of value become different. So I'm seeing now, my son is in college. I was building this. My son is 20, about to be 20. This company is 18 years old. They were both babies at the same time. So now I'm looking at this college student I have, realizing, dang, oh my God, I probably skipped some stuff. Right. I missed some stuff with you, man. Oh my God. So at this age, I'm trying to force myself to say, it is 6:00. I have staff. Somebody else can do it until tomorrow. So I haven't mastered the art of winding down. I do enjoy nature. I don't drink or smoke, so I don't have stuff that I do as a nightly regimen like that, but I do enjoy nature. Mm-hmm. I do enjoy getting away to cabins and things like that. If I had to choose between a cabin and I would always choose the secluded place, because I do enjoy quiet and peace. So I've tried to implement a quarterly getaway where it's all nature and trees and the wind and God and stuff like that. So yeah, but I don't know. I'll let you know when I figure it out.
Still hadn't done it.
Better get you some damn Cabernet or something and chill.
You know what? I think I have an allergy. Every time I have had alcohol before, but I'm telling you, it looked like somebody beat me down. If I have a drink, the next day is
you're swelling up in the face. It's an allergy.
24 hours.
Depending on the sugar level, it might be the sugar.
It might be. I'm telling you, I can feel it. If I have a drink with friends, I'm out having a good time, I can start to feel in my it's no good. So
it might be the sugar level. The sugar levels aren't always good, but I'm not trying to push you to drink.
No, no,
I'm not trying to push you to drink.
I like reading too. I have other constructive ways of trying to be better. And funny enough, relaxing for me sometimes is binge watching TV. Not in the lazy way, but it's my mind is always going all the time. Sometimes I need to turn my brain off and literally do something that's brainless. Right. And just watch TV, watch something very different than what I do every day. And it helps me to keep my mind fresh, but also to just kind of let my hair down and be like, okay, we're just going to binge watch, 10 episodes of Dateline. So let's go into the last part. Somebody trying to get into the industry that you're in. Yes. What advice would you give them? I would advise them to seek an internship and do it for free. I know this is the day and age where it's frowned upon to be working somewhere for free, but here's the thing. I have worked for clients for free that nobody knew wasn't paying a retainer because I knew it was going to take me somewhere else. Mm-hmm. If you know that this opportunity, you can come and get a check. You can come and get a check all day long. That's cool. But go intern for free, because give your time. Really pay attention. If you have an opportunity, and I don't say this boastfully, but many people don't get to sit next to the CEO of any company when they're the intern. Right. While you have an opportunity with a boutique agency like mine, now yesterday's price ain't today's price, because something is throttling all the time for me. So in a year, maybe we won't have this conversation where the interns are talking to me, but take an internship, because it is so valuable what you learn and see on a day-to-day basis. Work with somebody who is like you, and then take another internship with somebody that's nothing like you. Industries, if you want to be in the music industry, that's cool. intern at a music PR firm, but then also go work at a very corporate PR firm where they just work on boring communications. Why? Because when it comes down to it, you need to learn how to write very corporate, because if you need to write a press release, you need to be able to sound like non-hood. Like, even though the people you're working with may be this way, your diction should not come out that way. So I advise people to connect to businesses and companies that have somebody in the company that has the job you want for yourself in a year.
Right.
Years. Yeah.
That's what's up.
Well, there you have it, folks. Clorissa Wright-Thomas, owner, founder, Synergy Public Relations Services. If you are interested, at synergyprservices.com. That's at synergyprservices.com. If you want to know more, do more, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button on the bottom of the screen. Cutter, you got anything?
Tell Nicole White that I love her since Family Matters.
She's amazing.
If she needs an Eddie Winslow, I'm better than him.
You got her back. Let me tell you something. She is one of the, and I might get some trouble for this from other clients. She is one of my favorite people I've ever worked with in my entire career. She
seems like a really sweet person.
Very loving, very pours into every single person, very unproblematic, and not just in the job way. She's just a very sweet, beautiful spirit. Like, being in a space with her, you feel love, you feel kindness, you feel her. And she's a very big energy person too. So yeah, she's a dose of goodness for anybody. So I will let her know.
Concrete reality.